Now, let's begin with Khamzat Chimaev. This guy is what I like to call a UFC bully. Now, I don't like to throw that word around lightly. Of course, it's a major problem in our country, bullying, right? And usually someone's picking on someone else, etc. But in terms of the UFC, you're dealing with professionals. So when we say UFC bully, we're talking about a guy that just goes in and beats people down. And does it aggressively, in short order. And now that he's moving back to middleweight, this is his ideal weight class. This is what you need to understand. This is Khamzat's ideal weight class. Welterweight, he's squeezing down, he's weak. That's why he struggled against Gilbert Burns a little bit. If he ever goes to light heavyweight, that's going to be a struggle because now you're dealing with bigger guys, although I think he could eventually win that title hands down. But I'm trying to make the point here that middleweight is the perfect division, and you all are going to see this in this next fight against Paulo Costa. And he's going to get in there and just manhandle Paulo Costa. I mean, it's just going to happen. Maybe it goes into the second, third round. Very unlikely that this thing gets to the fourth or fifth. And what I'm really interested in is seeing how Khamzat approaches this fight. Is he going to try to take down Paulo Costa? Or is he going to go in there and just try to light him up, if you will? And we're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But before we go forward on this topic, let's get into the prediction and full preview first. In the middleweight division at UFC 294, this is your co-main event. You got Paulo Costa, the Brazilian, coming in at 14-2, taking on, you're not going to believe this, Khamzat Chimaev coming in undefeated 12-0, and it's about time the speculation is over, and we have a big fight in Abu Dhabi. This is a big fight. Khamzat, 1 inch taller at 6'2". He's 29, still in his 20s. Paulo Costa, 32. Both guys in their prime. Khamzat, 3-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Both guys very active. Khamzat, 7.3 significant strikes per minute to 6.5 for Paulo Costa. Now, when you get into the takedown game, Khamzat, 4 takedowns over the course of 3 rounds, so over 1 per round. Paulo Costa, nearly, or not even close to 1 over the course of 3 rounds. He lands 1 once every 6 rounds. So not very good there for Costa. But he does have good takedown defense, 79%. That allows him to play into the striking. Against Luke Rockhold, he won by decision in his last fight. He did lose to Marvin Vettori and Israel Adesanya. Before that, he beat Yoel Romero, Uriah Hall, Johnny Hendricks. And the Luke Rockhold win was a big one. But that's his biggest win of his career. Khamzat beat Kevin Holland in his last fight by submission. 2 minutes and 13 seconds in, he beat Gilbert Burns. He beat Li Jingliang, Gerald Meerschaert, John Phillips, and you can continue going back. And you got a 1 by almost every fight. First round, except Gilbert Burns was in the third. And John Phillips took him into the second. But it was 43-1. And John Phillips was the only guy to land 1 strike on him in his first 4 fights. So Khamzat is ridiculous. And you know here on the Community MMA, he's number 1 on our dude list. So it's very difficult for me to go against Khamzat. It's just not going to happen. I think he beats anyone on the planet. Welterweight, middleweight, and potentially even light heavyweight later in their career. He should win this fight. He will win this fight. But most importantly, I like to see him dominate in this fight. In my opinion, Khamzat wins this fight likely on the feet. I mean, Paulo Costa does have good takedown defense. He's a big guy. It's going to be like the Gilbert Burns fight for Khamzat because it's a big step up and he's got to get past all the question marks and things like that. Although he has no question marks, but in terms of the fans and the hype. So this is going to be like the Gilbert Burns fight. The difference is that he's not going to be depleted in weight. It's right at the weight he wants to be. And regardless of what things look like with Paulo Costa coming at Khamzat behind the scenes, things like that, Khamzat should mop the floor with this guy. Again, in my opinion, he'll move to 13-0, middleweight division, UFC 294. Yeah, so that's the first one. Okay, so already what we're predicting, and of course it's always in our opinion, but that Khamzat beats Paulo Costa and beats him soundly. This is not going to be like Gilbert Burns where he's squeezing into weight and he's depleted and all these things. He's leaving that behind him. Now he's going up where he's going to feel strong. Maybe he's got to cut 4 or 5 pounds, but he's naturally like 190, 195. Cutting down to 185, no big deal. 170, much harder. So look for a rejuvenated Khamzat, much like the fight against Kevin Holland. Of course, Paulo's going to be, more solid and well-rounded than Kevin Holland, stronger, but I don't think that matters.
He's gon' fight, he's gon' fight, hold your breath till the end of the night. Last fighter call, UFC at its height, bringing that thunder with all his might, saying step up, wanna fight, hold up, think twice, gladiator, assassin, reckless, no abandon, walk through that cage, he'll leave your ass stranded, wake up, hey, where you at, hey, got hit in the head with a baseball bat.